The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
I'm your darkest dream. They call me devil. My heart is empty. They call me devil, and you should be afraid.
This show is based on true events. We may use audio, transcripts, and other media to show the true graphic nature of predators. For legal purposes, this is our research. We are not legal, mental, or medical professionals and do not claim to be. This show is meant to educate and create change in how we deal with predators and the survivors of their abuse. If you or someone else observes someone being abused, please seek help and report it. Some subjects may be disturbing for some individuals. You've been warned. Welcome to Betrayal on Armed Radio every Friday from 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. This show is part memoir and part investigative journey into the dark world of predators and the survivors who lived through it. And welcome to this week's episode. Last week we had the last chapter of the Cleopatra saga. This week we are going to do something contemporary. Now, this case actually recently occurred, but the person who's responsible for the brutality has actually just been sentenced. Now, you might have heard this in the news about a Colorado man killing his entire family. And we're going to get into the details of why people kill their own family. And we like to call this episode Innocence and Betrayal. Let's get started. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Well, sometimes not in every case. Alright, so let's get started with this episode of Innocence and Betrayal on Armed Radio. Now, if you've looked anything on social media, you're going to hear about Chris and Shannon Watts. They were what they have been categorized as, and it seems like this is a term that's used quite often. The perfect couple, the perfect family, and in reality, there is no perfect family. The Brady Bunch still had issues, and there is not one single solitary family out there that does not have family drama or things that they hide, as we say, skeletons in the closet. But this suburban Denver family, they went on vacation and they cheered for the Pittsburgh Steelers. No one's faulting them for that. Go Cowboys. And they had two young daughters, Bella 4 and Celeste 3. They were actually preparing for their third child, which was going to be a boy, and they had picked out the name Nico. Now, if you were to look at their Instagram post for November, Shannon Watts, and basically through her page, they were so excited about celebrating their 5th anniversary. She writes, and I quote, "Chris, these have been the best years of my life. Our love just grows stronger every day. We have 2 beautiful little girls that call us mommy and daddy, ! In quotation. So this woman is unaware of the predator that is sleeping right next to her, who is the father of her children. And so, yeah, do we truly know who we marry, and do we truly know who people are? And I like to tell people there's good and there's bad. People are capable at all ages. There are cases where kids have killed, innocent kids have killed, or they look innocent, but they have killed. So I say that, we are all capable of great good and great evil. It is in our choices that make it so. And that actually might be a Harry Potter quote that I have memorized. So let me know in the comments if that is Harry Potter or is that something I picked up and created there. But in May, she's on Facebook and she's writing this information. I love this man. He's my rock. And he's amazing. I'm so glad you two found each other. So as you can see, nobody really knows what's going on behind the scene, especially his wife. And behind this facade of being a loving husband and, wonderful father, this man chose to do such a horrendous act. So Chris Watts was having an affair behind his pregnant wife's back. And this affair had been going on for quite some time. The woman in question of the affair, the woman who he was having the affair with, she knew he was married. She knew he had children. She knew that the wife was pregnant with their third child. This woman simply did not care. She was, getting attention from this guy. They were having a sexual relationship. And in her mind, it was serious that he was going to leave his wife and children for her. Now, in cases, the husband usually never leaves the wife of the mother of their children. It's usually a short fling or a long-term fling, and it usually ends badly because, there's no future in it. Now, a woman, what does it say about the person who is knowingly having a relationship with a man who she knows is married? How messed up is this person? And so, how messed up is this guy who's cheating on his pregnant wife? And I always advise people, if you are wanting to cheat on somebody that you're in a relationship or who you're married to, get a divorce. It's a lot better in the end because no one wants to be betrayed. No one wants to be lied to. And it's a lot easier than sitting there having to go behind, and lies and, lies and everything like that to hide your trail, and everything comes to the light one way or another. Every lie you tell always comes to the light one way or another somewhere down the road, and when you least expect it, something's going to pop up. Either this woman you're having an affair with is going to wind up pregnant, or some little thing, you're going to drop the ball somewhere and something is going to happen to where the lies are exposed. And that's when the majority of hurt happens on the injured party, because they feel as though, was I not good enough to be told the truth? Why did you do that? Why did you cheat on me? Why did you hurt me in this point? How can you be smiling and tell me you love me, but behind my back, you're having sex with another person when we made a commitment to each other to be faithful? Why am I faithful when you are cheating? And, it's betrayal all the way around. It's a betrayal of his children. It's a betrayal of the wife. It's a betrayal of the vows you took, of the commitment you took. And so it always ends terribly. Well, Chris, who's 33 years old, and his wife was 34 years old. So a little bit difference in age there, not by very much. And it could have been as simple as, her birthday came first, his birthday came a few months later. We don't know. We could find that out quite easily. So, there is a point where a crime has been committed. And basically, Chris reports that his wife has left him, and he's staged an elaborate scene where he has created what he calls, her leaving. A note saying, "I am leaving you, da da da," and she leaves the wedding ring on the table. Or at least that's what he's hoping, that the police will be stupid enough to say, "Oh, okay, she left the ring, she left a note, she left, and she took the kids with her and everything. So, okay, we've got a woman who's taking kids and has abandoned a marriage." Well, the police, it's kind of like, this scenario is kind of like, to the police, been there, seen that, have the t-shirt. This scenario has been played out so many times that if you're going to commit a crime, think of something new. This has been tested and everything like that, and proven very bad results. But then again, don't commit the crime in the first place. So he's portraying himself as the grieving father. I just want my kids home. I just want my kids safe home. And he's pleading with, police. He's pleading on the, television. Please get my kids home. I just want them to be safe. And this is in Fredericks, Colorado. And so he's putting on this grand spectacle. And so, showing pictures of the kids, showing pictures of everything, being the grieving, spurned husband. And I don't know how a person can do that with a straight face and no conscience. However, there is a scientific way people do that, who have no conscience, no guilt, no remorse. They simply do not care. And there's no way you can convince them to care. Those people are called sociopaths. Those people are also called psychopaths. Psychopaths and sociopaths. If you are a psychopath, you are definitely a sociopath. And if you are a sociopath, you're probably also a narcissist. So you have three monikers: psychotic, narcissistic, sociopath. And those types of people are incredibly deadly. Incredibly crafty, because they have spent pretty much a majority of their life blending into the shadows, creating fictional characters as our perfect solution in relationships. They are charming. They know how to do the spin of words where it's not lying, it's just, they'll do omission of different things. Well, I didn't lie, I just didn't say stuff, or they'll take a word and it, it's kind of like the word to. They'll say, well, I said the word to, but I didn't mean the number two. I meant as in go to. So they'll use slight variations, but as we all are, honest about it, it's all lies. It's all manipulation, and it's all deception. It is to deceive the other party into giving over what they want. They are incredibly selfish people. They simply do not care. I mean, literally, they do not care. They literally want to watch the world burn. They enjoy inflicting harm onto other people. It is a high for them, almost like drugs. And I actually have a whole entire book series called Betrayal, and each book in the Betrayal series is scenario after scenario of psychotic, narcissistic sociopaths, how they use the techniques that they use. The first book that I wrote is called Pandora's Box, and it tells you about certain techniques that they use, gaslighting and a variety of other things, to deceive people, and also their different types of abuse, because they're very subtle, and a lot of people do not realize it when they're in the environment until they get out. A lot of people don't get out because a lot of these people do kill their targets. So be sure to check out that book on Amazon, Pandora's Box. It is available in print and also in ebook form, and soon in audiobook form. So this person Of course, they're investigating, because anytime anyone comes up missing or who has left with 2 minor children, it's going to get the police. They have to investigate. And so basically, after the investigation, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation said that the mother and the 2 girls were killed Monday inside the home, and Shannon Watts' body was later discovered on the property of an oil and natural gas company that Chris Watts had worked for. You see, if you're going to commit a crime, don't bury the bodies where you work, because that is a paper trail straight to you. And of course, that was a smoking gun that led the police to put him now as the number 1 suspect, where he was not before. However, I will say this, is that usually when people go missing, they do generally have the spouse or family member as a number 1 source of that, because usually crimes like this are usually committed by people who are closest to them, and so and usually by people who they know, unless it's truly has a lot of damage to the body, where it could be a home invasion type crime. So the body of the wife was found on the oil and natural gas company place on the grounds. He had dug a hole, buried his wife. Now, this is really disturbing information. So what happened is that you've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old girls. They're innocent in all this. The husband, what he did is that, according to records, is that he basically killed his wife in the bedroom, took her body, wrapped it up in some sheets, and put it in the back end of the pickup truck. He gathered the 2 girls who didn't know what was going on. He said that mommy is sick, we've got to take her to the hospital. And so being 4 and 3, you really don't understand what's going on, and you don't really know where the hospital is. You're trusting your parent to take care of you. So the little girls are in their car seats, driving over an hour. They fall asleep in the back seat, according to Chris Watts. When he's in prison, this is what he's accounted. They fell asleep, woke up, fell asleep, and one of the little girls, the 4-year-old, said it smells. Okay, so usually bodies don't start to decompose and create a smell within a few hours of passing. So this could be that he killed his wife, and then it's been like maybe 24 hours. That's when bodies kind of, they don't generally start to smell that pungent, because you've got to think it's like an open bed truck. So if they're driving, the wind is kind of blowing any kind of smell out. So this body is smelling so bad that this little girl who's 4 years old is saying something stinks. So this tells me that possibly that this body has been sitting somewhere for him to figure out, holy crap, what should I do with this body? That's my deceased wife and my deceased child, because she's pregnant, which is basically 2 counts of murder. So any way you slice it, you're screwed. So he's got at least 2 counts of murder on his hands at this point. So once a person commits a crime, they kind of freak out. If you are, I guess, not a veteran at doing this, this is what records have shown. And so he's probably freaked out a little bit of this. He's killed his wife. He's got to get away with this because he's not going to jail. Most people don't want to go to jail. So he has these 2 little girls in the back seat. They're driving. It's nighttime. She smells something that smells funky. Now, dead bodies do smell funky. And there's their mother wrapped up in sheets in the flatbed pickup as they're driving in the middle of the night. So he gets out of the car, or out of the truck, he digs a hole, puts the body of their mother into this hole. The kids are in the back seat of the car. They're not really understanding what's going on. And so the little girl, the 4-year-old girl, is crying because she's like, I don't understand what's going on. So he's done burying the body, probably in a shallow grave. He's not going to dig 6 feet down. It's probably, a short amount of distance, because to dig 6 feet down is going to take several hours. And he's doing this in the middle of the night. So the next day, people are going to come to work to go to this oil and gas company site, which is a work site. So he had to do it quickly. So I'm assuming this is a very shallow grave. He comes back in the car, in the truck, and he collects the 3-year-old. And this is horrific. He takes the 3-year-old and he strangles her with her she has little kids have little blankies and everything. He strangles the little girl with her blankie. And the 4-year-old at this time is strapped into her car seat. And she's crying her eyes out. I feel so sorry for these poor little kids. And she goes, her dad comes to collect her. And she goes, are you going to do what you did to sister? Meaning, she doesn't understand what killing is. She doesn't understand what murder is and everything. And he says that those are the last words his little girl said to him that haunt him to this day. Well, good for that, because a lot of things should be haunting you for the rest of your life. You are such a nasty piece of trash for killing your wife and your 2 little girls who are completely innocent. And no matter how you do it, how can you strangle the life out of your children that you had? So I hope that their voices and their image haunt you every waking moment of the day, because you're a nasty piece of stuff. And so he basically strangles his little 4-year-old. Then he proceeds to climb up a set of stairs to these oil drums. Okay? Because this is an oil and natural gas company. I'm not exactly sure how, of course, you can't just lift up the top of these drums. So I'm thinking that there's got to be some sort of door or passage or some way of getting into these oil drums from the top. But you have to climb up some steps to get to the passage, I guess, to do something. So what it said in the report is that he dumped the 2 bodies of the little girls in the oil and gas drums. So the wife was buried in a shallow grave. He didn't have time to dig any further graves, so he dumps the 2 bodies of his little girls in the oil drum, which surprisingly, oil preserves a lot of things. And so the coroner's office during this time, this was like... they claimed that, the children were found on a Thursday afternoon. I'm assuming what happens is that even in an oil and gas field, when bodies start to decompose, especially being in a metal drum, if you will, that you're going to have a smell, and it's going to be pretty powerful, and it's going to be a different smell from the smell of gas. And so when they went to investigate, they found 2 bodies. And so the coroner's office, they go through a process of having to identify. This is pretty brutal, because the remaining family members who are there are called in to identify the bodies of the wife and the 2 little girls. Now imagine being grief-stricken, not knowing, having the husband say, to these other family members, hey, these kids are missing, my wife is missing, I don't know what's going on. And then knowing that they have found some bodies and they need to be identified. How grief-stricken are you? Because you're going in there upset and going, I hope it's not my family member. And then when you finally see them on what is called the slab, where they're pulled out of being basically put into a refrigerated box, if you will, if you've ever seen a coroner's office before, or a morgue. It's basically a sheet over your naked body on a metal table, and you're basically slid into these cubbies that have a door, like a little small refrigerator door, and you're pulled out. And then they lift open the sheet, you see the face, you identify them, they put the sheet back and everything. So basically, they've identified these 3 people positively, the remains of Shannon Watts and her 2 daughters, and the town of Fredericks. And they said that at the time, the death was pending further, based on further tests. Of course, a coroner is going to know a little bit based on the trauma in the body of what happened. So basically, during this time, the public defender, okay, I'm sorry, I had this wrong. So the DA basically files charges to investigate him. Now, Watts says, I can't afford an attorney. So he has what is called a public defender defending him. So this little piece of trash, oh my gosh. He's suggesting that this is not his kids, and that he motions, and this is to buy time basically, because he knows he's screwed at this point. He's not been charged, but he's filing for a motion to have DNA testing to make sure that these kids are his kids and everything. This is basically a delay tactic and something that to push things out. Then all of a sudden, Chris Watts confessed to the murders of his family. Basically, at that time, they go and they file charges. We're basically 4 counts of murder, because you've got the mother, the unborn child, and the 2 little girls. That's 4 counts of murder right there. You screwed. You big screwed. Dude. That court, I mean, unless you have an OJ attorney going on there, and he's never been proven guilty, so if it doesn't fit, you must acquit, and everything, you screwed. And so he confessed to the murders, which, at this point in time, it's basically signed, sealed, and delivered at this point. The DA is pretty much going, what should we do? Death penalty, life in prison, what should we do? That kind of thing. So they have certain deadlines they have to do to file charges against a perpetrator. And so they did that. He appeared in court. And so at this time, the family members who are living, which is the mom and the dad and the sister, the brother from, both sides of the family, they're going, oh my gosh, this is like a lot of stress. This is a lot of tragedy going on. And they're going, what the crap is going on? And everything. So they were asking, why would he harm his daughters and his wife, who was 15 weeks pregnant? And they were trying to piece together why he would do something so sinister. Well, here's some clues into that. So this family apparently was having financial trouble. They filed for bankruptcy June of 2015, and they were under pressure. So basically, they were spending beyond their means. That puts a lot of pressure on families. And so in 2014, the couple made $90,000, about $61,500 from Chris Watt's job. And I do not know how to pronounce this, but I will do my best. Andirocto Petroleum, and the rest was from Shannon's $18 an hour job at a call center at a children's hospital. Okay, but they had about $70,000 worth of debt, mainly from student loans and retail purchases. That student loan debt will kill you every single time. It is horrendous. And retail purchases. Now, they were definitely living beyond their means, because if you look inside the house, you look how they're dressed up, they're basically buying your Louis Vuittons and stuff like that, your status symbols, but they can't afford it. So they're putting it all in credit card debt. In addition to the nearly $3,000 month mortgage payment. So yeah, so they have a $3,000 a month mortgage. Yeah, they're wow, this is a lot. $70,000 worth of debt, $3,000 a month. Every single month they have to come up with $3,000 to pay their mortgage. That's not even utilities. $600 for their monthly car payments, and $1,300 in other expenses. We're talking food, cable, and other crap. They were living beyond their means, to the point that they couldn't start it. I mean, clearly they could not pay their credit card debt. They could not pay their debt, and they had to have a roof over their head. So they had all these status symbols, and they just couldn't make it happen. So that was probably causing a lot of tension in the relationship. It does. Money does. Money is the root of all evil. It's what we need, but it's also the reason why a majority of murders happen. In their bankruptcy filing, the couple said that they had two savings accounts with less than $10 and a joint account with less than $870. Now remember, at the beginning of the show, I said that they went on lavish vacation. They went on, tropical vacations and things like that. So yeah, so they're living it up, and everything. So it probably comes down to young, foolish, in their 30s, living the high life. The couple originally was from North Carolina. They left for Colorado after they were married in Charlotte in 2012. So yeah. Alright, I'm going to start with our first commercial, and it is for the book called Pandora's Box, part of the Betrayal series, which deals with narcissistic, psychotic sociopaths, exactly what we're talking about here, people who kill. So enjoy. From international best-selling author Kasy Spears and award-winning director Glenn Spillman comes a book. This story is dirtier than Dirty John. We have the narcissistic, psychotic sociopath tell his side of the story. This story is told by the survivor and the perpetrator. Part memoir and part investigation to the world of predator people and the methods they use to con people. Blunt, graphic, and oddly exhilarating. The abuse of the criminal system, educational, naval, and religious institution. Some people say train your mind to see the good in everything. I say train your mind to see the truth in everything. Good, evil will always exist. However, when we condition ourselves to only see the good, we leave the door open for evil to rise. Intrigued? You have no idea what's coming next. Available now on Amazon in ebook, print, and soon in audiobooks. Don't summon my demons if you aren't ready to play with them. Pandora's Box. Available on Amazon. Get your copy today. Okay. So we have heard the commercial for Pandora's Box, and now let's kind of recap just for a brief moment of what we are talking about. So this family looks like the perfect suburban family of Colorado. They were married in 2012 in North Carolina, and they apparently filed for bankruptcy. So they've got money trouble. They're swimming in debt, and they don't have enough money to pay said debt. And so they've lived beyond their means, and they have 2 children, one on the way. And so they've got stressors in their life. So going back to North Carolina and the origins of why they left North Carolina, where their family is located, is that the man who purchased their home in Belmont, west of Charlotte, told the Associated Press that Shannon Watts, this is the wife, was eager to sell that home and everything, that when they packed up all their stuff to move to Colorado, they left behind property. And so they left things behind. And anytime a title is transferred, as soon as that title is transferred, anything that's in that home, it's the new homeowner's property and everything. So she left it behind. She didn't even think anything twice of it. So, and they hightailed it to Colorado, but their family lives in the city of Charlotte. So Shannon Watts had recently returned to North Carolina for a visit with her family and spoke with her parents' next door neighbor. And so, and she basically didn't give any indication that there was anything wrong. She seemed pretty happy. The neighbor, Joe Beach, told the Associated Press. So basically, these people are living a lie. They are smiles on the outside, but on the behind closed doors, they're like, swimming in debt. But on the outside, they look like the perfect, mid income, actually upper mid income. Because if your mortgage is $3,000 a month, let's see. Yeah, your house is like at least $300,000. So she's well above. So they're basically, let's think of this for a second. They're making about $70,000 a year, which is a great income. They've got 4 people, so $70,000 for 4 people, plus 1 child on the way. And they're living in a $3,000 a month mortgaged home. So I live in Texas, and I am a real estate broker here in Texas. And I do know that in Austin, the average home is about $230,000. Well, at the time, it's probably gone up, but by now it keeps going up. Let's just say $230,000. That kind of a mortgage, with the rate the mortgage rates are, if she would have bought in 2012, it would have been in the down market. The interest rates were down, so you're looking about maybe under 5% interest, unless, of course, you got hosed on your mortgage deal. But about 5% if you've got good credit, which I'm thinking if they have that much credit card debt that they did have relatively good credit, but now they're upside down because they have their debt to income ratio is a bit askewed now. You're probably looking at a good $350,000, $400,000 home, which is probably a pool in the backyard and possibly gated community, definitely upscale community. We're probably looking at about 5 to 6 bedroom, at least 5 bedroom home, 2-story. Yeah, man. On a $70,000 budget, plus you are spending about $1,300 a month, and about $600 a month on your car. So let's see, your home mortgage and your car loan is $3,600 a month, plus an additional $1,300 a month. That's wow. These people, oh my goodness gracious, that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money, and I don't do math in my head. So $1,300 plus $600 plus $3,000. Woo! You are spending $4,900 a month, and you made $70,000. So $4,900 times 12, you are spending $58,800 per year, and you make, plus they said other debt as well that we don't know about. So they are living way beyond their means. I bet you they're living off their credit cards for the majority of that. So naturally, if you have all this debt and creditors are calling you left and right, you're going to get some stressors there. So, yeah, pretty wild stuff. So Daniel Search, who works for Shannon Watts' mother at a hair salon, said that she saw the family on their last trip, and she was one of those people, when she walked into the room, it was just like sunshine. So she was happy, smiles, all that kind of stuff. And Chris was very standoffish. Oh, here's some more information. He didn't really say anything. I said hi to him and he kept his head down. Interesting. Okay. So Shannon was smiles and happy-go-lucky type personality. Her husband was standoffish, which in the South, if you're not saying hi, how are you, because you're considered standoffish. He could have been an introvert where he doesn't really say a lot, or he could have been the one not wearing the pants in the family, and where she was wearing the pants in the family and she kind of told him what to do. Bossy. Who knows? There could be stressors in the relationship. We don't know behind the scenes. I mean, that's between those two, and one of them happens to be dead, which could contribute to why he had the affair. Is that he was just, needed some sort of separate thing, not to justify anything, but yeah, not the happy-go-lucky family that's portrayed in pictures. Pictures do not always tell everything. The lady went on to say, it's just heartbreaking and devastating for this to happen to such a good person. She added, such cute, good girls. They had a whole life ahead of them, taken away unfairly. And of course, everyone's going to say those kind of comments. It's pretty typical when you're dealing with a murder case involves this type of brutality. And I've seen a dozen cases, so researched as everything. And it just seems like this is the underlying same theme on pretty much when you have that homicide of family members. It's unclear how Watts' financial fortunes may have improved, allowing them a cushy lifestyle in Colorado. But Shannon Watts flooded her social media pages with her venture working for Lavelle. Oh, have you ever seen those? This is the multi-tier. Okay. Lavelle, like those pink packets and everything else of that multi-level marketing situation, just like Amway. So if you know a lot of people and you have those kind of customers, you can do anything from organic gold to Arbonne to Lavelle to the pink powder stuff to the CBD oil, you name it. Amway, Avon, Mary Kay. the list goes on about multi-level marketing that sells weight loss and health patches. So the company encourages sellers to use Facebook and Instagram to share their apparent success stories for customers. Shannon Watts and her husband regularly took pictures together wearing the patches and posted a photo of Lexus so they took photos of these patches and posted them next to their Lexus. She said she was awarded for her work and gateways she was afforded. She called herself a mom entrepreneur. Okay, so this woman has some expensive taste. So this kind of goes into the shopping. I bet you a dime to a dollar they had some Louis Vuittons, they had some Coach in their closet, and they had a Neiman Marcus card. Because, and not to say anything against Neiman Marcus, because I love Neiman Marcus and I love Chanel and Louis Vuitton and everything like that. But I know that there is a flood in the market for those labels. People like the labels, the Gucci, the Louis Vuittons, those kind of things. And so labels mean success. Lexuses, Mercedes, BMWs equals success. When you drive those cars, people assume you are successful. And so these people, you know, they aspire towards these labels. They're like, if I have this label, I'm successful, regardless if you're swimming in debt. So she also says that they awarded her all-inclusive, no work, all fun vacations. She wrote recently about a trip to Dominican Republic, Mexico, and San Diego. Friends of the Watts, Nick and Amanda, told the Associated Press that the couple was open about their bankruptcy, but never suggested they were still experiencing problems. It was so long ago, it was like Shannon would bring it up that we had to file bankruptcy and all of that other stuff, but it's kind of ended there, Amanda said. That's a direct quote. Whatever was going on behind the scenes, Chris Watts kept his guard up when he appeared in public Monday after reporting that his wife and daughters were missing. He told investigators he had an emotional conversation with Shannon before he left for work at around 5 a.m. John Bureau, a retired detective who investigated the murder of the Laci Peterson murder, a pregnant California woman in 2002, told Today on the Today Show that Chris Watts was unbelievable and very flat in his statement. Now, this is a man who investigated a previous murder of a pregnant woman, Laci Peterson, and how that all went down. Same scenario, the wife leaves, those kind of things. He says, this is a quote, he says, he's saying the right thing, but there's nothing convincing about it. Bueller said, it's like an act he's putting on, but he's not a very good actor. See, police officers and detectives, seen that, been there, have the t-shirt. Because a lot of people, they use the same, MO every single time. And these people go to school. They are trained to spot lies, and they are trained to weed through all this stuff, to look at facts black and white, and crime scene photos. So in the end, he was literally just convicted in February of this year, convicted and sentenced to a life in prison. So it is kind of unfair that he would have life in prison where his family, his wife and 2 children, don't get that luxury. And that's one of the saddest things about committing crimes, is that the perpetrator seems to get rewarded for perpetrating crimes because he gets to live and he gets to sit in a cell and he gets 3 meals a day. He gets a exercise yard. He gets television where his little girls and his wife, especially his little girls, they got killed in a brutal way. Their last moments on earth were brutal, violent, and full of questions of why. Granted, they're in heaven and everything, but they never got to grow up. We never got to see if they were going to be kids who, created the cure for cancer, who ran for president, who were the best teacher on earth. We don't know that because their life work was cut down by a selfish act. But he gets to spend the rest of his life, however long, however short it is, behind bars, thinking and remembering of a life that he cut short and that a future that they could have all had together. And so another thing that I've learned from other police officers is that when you're in jail, and this is coming from retired police officers that I have personally interviewed and talked to, they have divulged to me some information, and I'm about to divulge to you, is that there's a culture, a subculture in the prison system. And there is a class system in there. Because, it is an environment. It is a caged environment. And so they have what is called and these are rapists and murderers and killers and, everything, petty crime and everything like that. There's an hierarchy in there. Your tops, your middles, your bottoms. What they consider the bottom, these are people who have committed crimes, violent crimes, some of them. They consider the bottom of the rung people who kill children. And people who kill children, they say they don't live very long in prison because they end up having, being a target and I guess getting shanked, if you will. That's the best terminology I can say. Because they single these people out as baby killers. And they don't like baby killers because they think of their kids on the outside growing up without them. They think of those type of things. Now, some of them who are sociopaths who could care less about anything, where you're talking your Mansons and things like that, they feed off of that kind of energy. It's very creepy. But this guy, he made a rash, stupid decision that has changed his life and the life of his family forever. And the family members who did not commit this crime, who are just on the outside trying to figure out what happened, because a lot of times people don't know on the outside what happened, because it's so violent and so traumatic that they'll never have the answers to that, of why. He might not be able to articulate the reason why. It was a emotional response in the heat of a moment, or a thought process in the heat of the moment to do something of that action. Maybe they were having an argument over money. Probably they were having an argument over money because they were in a lot of financial debt. Maybe she was wanting navy blue and he wanted pink for the nursery, and they had a fight about that. I mean, she was pregnant, at the time, which is an emotional state in itself of hormones going all over the place. Maybe he had a bad day at work. Maybe the day before, maybe he was about to lose his job and then having to pay for everything. We do not know the ins and outs because that is behind closed door. But an action was taken, and unfortunately, lives were lost because of those actions. And that is truly sad when you think about it. And so, but tonight, if any indication, if you have kids, give them an extra hug and kiss and tell them that you love them. They really need to hear that from you. Tell them that you're proud of them, because you just simply do not know when that life might be abruptly snuffed out, and you're going to regret not being able to say those words. Life is so precious, and people do not realize how precious it is. So the ones who are in your life right now, make sure that you give them a hug and a kiss and tell them that you appreciate them. Tell them that you love them, because it could be the last time you have that opportunity to do that. Well, my name is Kasy Spears, and you have been listening to Betrayal on Armed Radio every Friday night from 10 to 11 Eastern Time. And next week, I am going to bring to you another true crime story on next week's Betrayal. Be sure to check us out on Facebook on Armed Radio, and I will talk to you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye now. From the author Glenn Spillman comes his next book. Beneath a blood-red moon sits a quiet town in Colorado. Years ago, an old Indian curse almost destroyed the town. Now, it's 40 years later, and a blood moon will rise along with an ancient curse, threatening to destroy all they have rebuilt. Will a forbidden love bring the end of the curse? You must read to find out more in Blood Spirit, The Cursed Tribe, Book 1, now available on Amazon in ebook form, printed, and soon in audio. Go to Amazon and get The Blood Spirit. What are you afraid of? From international best-selling author Kasy Spears and award-winning director Glenn Spillman comes a book. This story is dirtier than Dirty John. We have the narcissistic, psychotic sociopath tell his side of the story. This story is told by the survivor and the perpetrator. Part memoir and part investigation to the world of predator people and the methods they use to con people. Blunt, graphic, and oddly exhilarating. The abuse of the criminal system, educational, naval, and religious institution. Some people say train your mind to see the good in everything. I say train your mind to see the truth in everything. Good, evil will always exist. However, when we condition ourselves to only see the good, we leave the door open for evil to rise. Intrigued? You have no idea what's coming next. Available now on Amazon in ebook, print, and soon in audiobooks. Don't summon my demons if you aren't ready to play with them. Pandora's Box. Available on Amazon. Get your copy today.